Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and we're dealing with another seasonal championship in this video. So yeah, we're going to be doing Love at First Night, which is basically super hot hatchbacks in B class. So yeah, nice pun on the seasonal championship name there. And yeah, we're getting there in the Rimac Nevera, a new car added by the festival playlist. So yeah, do this seasonal championship and you'll be a quarter of the way towards those 20 points to get this car. And it is well worth getting, as it is properly quick, and yeah, you can get it even faster than this if you do certain upgrades to it. So yeah, it's a fantastic car and well worth the effort of doing any of the the festival playlist championships or objectives or anything like that.
Turn sharp left.
Yeah, as you can see, it gets us there
200 yards.
in no
Turn
time
sharp
whatsoever.
left.
We seem to have missed the turning off point, but let's just go there now anyway. I was enjoying how quickly the car was going to really pay attention to where the turn off was. So yeah, let's see where we're going to be racing and what we're going to be racing in. Right, so near the bridge for one of them and over somewhere else for the other. But yeah, got a nice variety of cars from different years. So we've got the Audi RS3 Sportback from 2011. Probably one of the first hot hatchbacks to start off the hot hatchback horsepower wars, although I'd say the Ford Focus RS was slightly a precursor to that with its 300 horsepower 2.5 litre engine, which yeah, is also a properly quick car. And then you've got the Honda Civic Type R, which again, more than 300 horsepower in 2016. Then the slightly less powerful Hyundai Veloster N, but this is probably my favourite hot hatchback out of the bunch. No, it's not as powerful as the other cars here, but it also doesn't weigh all that much either. Slightly more than the Honda, but yeah, for my money it's the better car to drive, and also the better looking vehicle as well. Then we've got a brace of Renaults, 3 Meganes and a Clio, so yeah, all various levels of power. The Megane R26R is the most track-focused version of the bunch, but then yeah, the Megane RS from 2018 is also the most powerful. So yeah, basically take your pick with those. The Megane RS from 2018 is probably my favourite of those. And then we've got 3 Golfs. The 2021 Golf R is my favourite of those as well, because I prefer the looks compared to the 2010 version. And yeah, it's got the most power as well, and it doesn't actually weigh a huge amount as well extra, despite the actually the Golf R from 2014 has slightly more power. But for my money, the newer version has better handling and better braking, and is slightly more enjoyable to drive on a more normal basis as well as on the track. So yeah, and yeah, what we're going to pick? I think we'll go for the Hyundai for the starters, because like I said, it is my favourite car here, so let's get my favourite out of the way, and hopefully it won't disappoint us with its lesser power compared to most of the cars here. But it's far from the worst powered car here. It's as powerful as the most powerful Renault, so yeah, no, not bad whatsoever in that regard. And yeah, certainly a vast improvement over the original Veloster, which yeah, I found a little bit underwhelming in a lot of ways, to be honest. Especially considering it had comparative horsepower to other hot hatchbacks from the time, but didn't feel as quick as it should have been for a car with that level of power. And yeah, also I wasn't a massive fan of the looks, whereas this does have the power, and it does have the acceleration and the speed and the handling to go with it, while it also looks pretty damn great as well. So yeah, pretty much nothing that I don't like about this car, quite frankly. I'm sure people might well think lesser of it because it is a Hyundai, and therefore people think it's like Hyundais of old, but they're really not anymore. To get over the fact that Hyundai have improved now and aren't making crummy cars like the Accent. Oh dear, we braked ourselves a little bit there. Getting a little bit too happy with the accelerator and not enough with the brakes. Also sounds pretty good as well. We're to nearly 7,000 RPM. despite being quite a small engine and obviously having a turbocharger, it doesn't have an awful sounding engine, because usually when small engines with turbochargers that have a high output of power, the engine noise is usually sacrificed in the aim of making it more economical. Now it has all that power, or to have all that power with the turbocharger, because the turbocharger is usually the thing that ruins the noise of an engine when not done right. That is, but it has been done very well in this. Wish we had more N cars from Hyundai on these games, because I've done plenty of them. So it would be amazing if we had, I think it was Hyundai that have done that retro / futuristic electric sports car. I'd love to see that on the game. I know it's not a full production car or anything like that, but you know, we have had concept cars on plenty of Forza games before, including this one. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to have a concept car like that on this game. Especially given how cool it looks, how powerful it's supposed to be. But I guess with some concept cars there's a lot of hush-hush aspects over the kind of power, the technology that's involved and all of that lot, and yeah, a lot of car companies want to keep their concept cars as close to their chest as possible. So the technology isn't stolen by other car companies. Certainly made up for that little hiccup with the brakes, because yeah, pretty convincing win there for the Hyundai. I'm glad, because like I said, it is my favourite of the bunch to choose from. So yeah, nice handy 20 points to start the championship off, with a more than 3-second lead over the Volkswagen Golf R from 2010. So yeah, let's move on to the second race. Right, so on with the second race, and I think we'll go with a bit of a classic. It's the second oldest car here, I believe. Yes, and we're going to go with a Ford Focus RS. We've recently been using the rally car version from 2001 on the rally expansion, which has been really fun to drive, but that has even more power than this. So yeah, let's see what this more road going version can do. As you can see, it's got fairly decent stats and plenty of power and torque to go with it as well, but it is a bit of a weighty car as well, at 3.2, 3.6, which yeah, as you can see, it's more than £100 over what the Hyundai was, but we obviously do have more power and more torque. So yeah, and obviously Ford have been doing hot hatchbacks for way longer than Hyundai have, so they have plenty of pedigree behind them to make something like this work. So yeah, let's see if more power and more torque is going to make for an even easier race. Also, we rev a little bit higher than we did with the Hyundai. We did have more hot hatchbacks from Ford. Obviously we're not going to be getting any more nowadays, because they've phased everything out that isn't an SUV, but yeah, I do wish we had some more older ones, like the Ford Focus ST, which yeah, was basically the slightly lesser version of this. Still plenty of power, well over 200 horsepower, but yeah, it's, you know, the more workman-like version of this, basically, because this was hardly a cheap car in its heyday. So yeah, it would be nice to have that version on. And there's plenty of other hot hatchbacks that they've done throughout the 80s and the 90s that we've not had yet. hopefully one day. This is more than enough at the moment, especially in terms of the brute force power that it's got going. Pulls like a train. Particularly helpful when you're going up hills. You need all of the torque you can get, and we've got one of the torquiest engines here, if not the torquiest engine. That 318 pounds-feet of torque. Granted, other things about this car probably haven't aged the best. Gearbox, the ability to put all that power down, but when you are in a straight line and you are gunning it, there's very little out there that in this class that is going to be able to beat it, quite frankly, if anything. Also sounds pretty good as well. Probably because this actually isn't a 4-cylinder, it's the 5-cylinder, I believe. It was nicked from Volvo. I think I'm right in saying that. I know the Ford Focus ST had the 5-cylinder engine in it, so yeah, and considering this sounds like no other inline 4 I've heard, that would certainly make sense. So yeah, another victory there with the even more powerful Ford. And an even wider gap than the last race. So yeah, with another 20 points in the bag, that takes us all the way to 40. 8 points ahead of the Megane and 20 points ahead of one of the Volkswagens. So yeah, it's pretty much a given now that we're going to win this championship, but we could easily come last in the next race, and that certainly would not give us a first place overall in the championship. So technically still everything to play for, but I'm not too worried going into the third and final race. Let's see what happens. Right, for this third and final race, we're going to be probably a little bit on the daring side and go for what is probably one of the best handling cars here, especially in terms of also its braking. As you can see, pretty much everything else is below 5, but the Renault Megane R26R has better braking and as good as handling as everything else here, purely because it weighs so little. It's got very little in the way of interior. It's got no rear seats, for instance. It's got plastic rear quarter windows. It's got, yeah, just very minimal amounts of interior, and also a fairly, you know, horsepower heavy engine. Obviously, it is the least powerful engine here by some considerable margin. I think 250 is the next one. Or yeah, the next one up is another Megane with 250. So less power, but as you can see, it's near more than 300 pounds lighter than that next up Megane, while having a decent amount of power and torque. So yeah, it's probably a little bit on the brave side going for the least powerful car here, but I believe that the lack of weight and the properly good handling and braking will make up for it. So yeah, let's see if we're going to be right. Absolutely love the fact that they put this in the previous game. Really rather nice to see that they brought it back again. Hopefully it'll be on the next Forza Motorsport game, as yeah, definitely where it's best at is on the track. That's pretty much all it was made for, as you can see by the roll cage that it's got going on as well. Yeah, you might well remember on one of the Top Gear episodes from way back, well over 10 years back, Clarkson and Hammond basically compared this and the Ford Focus RS we chose in the last race against one another. Or was it May? Might have been May, actually. I can't remember. Either way, these cars are absolutely ridiculous in terms of their overall handling. And you can see, still pretty good in terms of the top speed. And yeah, it's able to maintain that top speed through the corners because of how good the handling is. It's got properly stiff suspension, the chassis is obviously well improved in terms of stiffness because of that roll cage, and yeah, because it weighs so little, it's got very little in the way of momentum to actually deal with, so braking, even if they're not massively improved in terms of the brakes, will also just be better in general just because of how little it weighs. So yeah, properly good car, like I said, belongs more on the track than anything, but seems to be dealing with the roads here nicely. Can't imagine it's the comfiest of things to drive on a day-to-day basis, though. Especially in Britain with our roads, which are pretty pothole heavy at times. The highest revving engine we've used in this championship either. To be honest, I'm not even sure if this is turbocharged, but still, packs a decent punch for a car of its age. It's not going to be enough to get us the first place, unfortunately. That Audi just has a bit too much more power than us. But that's still fine. And yeah, not that far off the Audi either, despite that having well over 100 horsepower more than us. And yeah, obviously also having the all-wheel drive to go with that, you know, massive increase in power and torque. So yeah, still, we got the 16 points, so we're still ahead by 16 points overall. And yeah, I still enjoyed driving that Megane, even if it didn't get us the win, because it's a cracking driver's car and well worth trying out if you haven't already. So yeah, like I said, getting this championship in the bag gives you 5 points towards getting the Rimac Navara, which is well worth getting. It's a fantastic EV hypercar, and yeah, really glad it's in the game. So yeah, but nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.